Hey there, are you sitting down? Good, because Wayfair's end-of-season sale is here, and you can shop it from your couch. It's Wayfair's Labor Day clearance, and it's on now. Right now, you can score up to 70% off everything home at Wayfair, like up to 50% off outdoor furniture and decor, and up to 70% off area rugs, plus amazing doorbuster deals, and 24-hour surprise flash deals on Wayfair home finds in every style. And get it all with fast shipping on everything, right to your door. From furniture to faucets, this is your last chance of the season to score huge deals at Wayfair. Don't let the final days of summer pass you by without shopping these end-of-season savings. So don't wait. Like summer, these savings won't last. Head to wayfair.com today to score up to 70% off everything home. Celebrate your holiday weekend with can't-miss savings before they run out. Shop Wayfair's Labor Day clearance now through September 2nd at wayfair.com.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. If you're anywhere across, well, huge parts of the United States right now, you are absolutely feeling it. Today, Tuesday, June 24th, 2025, much of the country is just grappling with this oppressive and frankly dangerous extreme heat warning. This is not just another warm spell. It's really shaping up to be one of the most significant weather events of the summer, posing serious health risks and, really challenging infrastructure everywhere it hits.
Right.
And think of this deep dive as your shortcut to getting genuinely well-informed on this critical weather event that's unfolding right now. You'll walk away understanding not just what's happening, but the sort of deeper atmospheric why behind it all and why it matters so much to, well, your daily life. So let's unpack these terms, starting with the one that sounds a bit like, I don't know, science fiction, heat dome. What are we really talking about there?
It really does sound like sci-fi, doesn't it? But it's very real and actually becoming more common. A heat dome forms when you get this persistent ridge of high-pressure air that basically traps heat over a specific area. Like imagine a giant invisible lid just placed right over a region.
Okay.
And this isn't just any high pressure moving through. It's a system, often influenced by a specific pattern in the jet stream that just gets stalled, stuck, and it acts like a cap pushing warm air downwards. As that air sinks, it compresses. And that compression heats it up even more.
Wow.
So it's not just warm air, it's air getting like superheated as it's forced closer to the ground.
So it's like a giant convection oven, but instead of baking bread, it's just cooking everything underneath it.
That's a pretty good analogy, actually. Precisely. And crucially, this persistent high pressure stops other weather systems from moving in. Things like refreshing storms or cooler air masses. They just can't break through. So that leads to these long periods of clear skies and really intense sunshine. The trapped superheated air then just recirculates, constantly making the already scorching temperatures even worse. It's almost like a greenhouse effect happening right there in the atmosphere.
Sure.
Heat gets in, but it really struggles to get out.
That makes it very clear. So if the dome is the lid trapping the heat, where does the heat wave part come in? Are they always linked like this?
Well, a heat wave is actually a simpler definition. It's just a period of unusually hot weather that lasts for more than 2 days. And unusual isn't a fixed number, right? It depends on the local climate. But basically, it means temperatures significantly above the historical average for that specific time of year. And as you probably guessed, heat waves are very often associated with heat domes because that dome provides the perfect underlying conditions for sustained, sometimes record-breaking heat. One really enables the other.
Gotcha. So given that trapped, superheated air you just described, what are the immediate impacts we start to feel when a heat dome and a heat wave combine like this? What are the key consequences for us under that invisible lid?
Well, you see several critical effects kicking in. First, obviously, you get these incredibly high daytime temperatures, often hitting or going over 90 degrees Fahrenheit and frequently breaking 100 in many spots.
Right.
Second, especially in the eastern and southern U.S., you're dealing with high humidity. And that moisture in the air makes those already high temperatures feel even hotter. That's what we measure as the heat index or the feels-like temperature. And the reason for that, scientifically, is that the humidity makes it harder for sweat to evaporate from your skin. And evaporation is our body's main way of cooling down.
So it's not just the heat itself, it's our body struggling to cool off that makes it feel so much worse. That makes total sense.
Exactly. And here's where it gets really dangerous. The warm overnight temperatures. The heat dome prevents significant cooling when the sun goes down. This lack of relief means our bodies and even our buildings and infrastructure don't get a chance to properly cool down. That dramatically increases the health risks. We just don't get that break.
Yeah, that's tough.
And lastly, that high-pressure system often leads to stagnant air, which means pollutants get trapped near the ground. That causes poor air quality, adding another layer of health concerns, especially for people with respiratory issues like asthma.
It really is a compounding problem, isn't it? So let's talk specifics. Where is this lid currently sitting over the U.S.? What areas are really feeling the worst of it right now in late June 2025?
Okay, so this current heat wave really started ramping up in mid-June, and it seems to be peaking right around now, June 20th to 24th. The exact boundaries do shift a bit day to day, but its core has generally been centered over the Central Plains and the Mississippi Valley. And it's extending eastward from there towards the Ohio Valley and even into parts of the Northeast.
And which regions are really bearing the brunt? Are we talking specific states or cities?
The Midwest, for sure, has been hit incredibly hard. States like Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, Michigan, also parts of Iowa, Kansas, Nebraska, they're seeing the most severe conditions. We've seen reports from cities like St. Louis. KMOV there has been covering it extensively, and also Chicago, Indianapolis, Detroit. They're all experiencing those triple-digit heat indices.
Wow.
The South is also really feeling it. Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky, and it's even pushing down into North Texas and Oklahoma.
I've heard reports about the Northeast, too. Even if the absolute thermometer reading isn't quite as high as the Midwest, it still feels awful. Is that right?
That's absolutely spot on. Yeah. While the thermometer might not consistently hit 100 degrees in, say, New York or Pennsylvania or New Jersey, the high humidity there is making conditions feel exceptionally oppressive. It's triggering widespread heat advisories and warnings across that region, too. Across all these affected areas, temperatures have consistently soared into the mid to upper 90s Fahrenheit. But those heat index values, that feels like temps, they've frequently been over 105 degrees Fahrenheit. And in some localized spots, they've even reached or surpassed 115 degrees.
That's just brutal. And like you said, those overnight temperatures are a huge part of why this is so dangerous. My air conditioner is definitely working overtime right now. I'm sure yours is too.
Absolutely. The overnight lows have just stayed stubbornly high, often in the upper 70s or even low 80s in many places. And that provides very little, sometimes no physiological relief for anyone stuck in the heat. It's a really critical factor in heat-related illnesses because your body just doesn't get that chance to recover overnight.
Yeah.
It's why weather agencies, the National Weather Service, they're issuing continuous excessive heat warnings and heat advisories. They're urging extreme caution because numerous daily temperature records are being broken or are expected to be challenged.
It's clearly a very serious event. But beyond just the discomfort, heat waves are often called a silent killer. Why that term? What makes them so uniquely deadly compared to, say, a hurricane or a flood, which are much more visually dramatic?
That's a really important question about how we perceive risk, isn't it? Heat waves are startlingly among the deadliest natural phenomena we face. Did you know that in the U.S., heat waves actually cause more deaths annually than floods and hurricanes combined?
I did not know that. Wow.
Yeah. Their impact is just far less visually dramatic, right? You don't see the immediate destruction like a tornado leaves behind. But the toll on human health can be immense, precisely because it's less visible and often builds up over days. It's progressive.
That's a really sobering statistic. So what are the main health risks we need to be really aware of, especially for people who might not recognize the signs right away?
Okay, the most common one is probably heat exhaustion. The symptoms to look for are things like heavy sweating, skin feeling cold and clammy, maybe a fast but weak pulse, nausea or vomiting, muscle cramps, feeling really tired or dizzy, and headaches. It's serious on its own, and if you don't treat it, get cool, hydrate, it can absolutely progress to something much more dangerous. Heat stroke.
And heat stroke, as you mentioned, that's the real medical emergency. It requires immediate action.
That's the crucial distinction, yes. With heat stroke, you're looking at a body temperature of 103 degrees Fahrenheit or higher. Their skin might be hot and red, either dry or damp. Pulse is usually fast and strong. Other signs are headache, dizziness, nausea, confusion, and even losing consciousness. It's absolutely critical to understand that heat stroke can lead to permanent disability or even death if it's not treated immediately. Like, call 911 immediately. Beyond those two, just the rapid fluid loss through sweating leads to dehydration, which can worsen everything else and also put extra strain on people with pre-existing conditions.
Right, like heart problems or breathing issues.
Exactly. Cardiovascular disease, respiratory illnesses, kidney disease, diabetes, extreme heat can really exacerbate those underlying conditions.
And certain groups of people are, unfortunately, much more vulnerable to all of this. Who should we be most concerned about checking in on during these heat waves?
That's a key point. Those at significantly higher risk definitely include the elderly, infants and young children, people with chronic illnesses, anyone who has to work outdoors, and perhaps most critically, people who don't have access to reliable air conditioning. For these groups, even heat that might seem just uncomfortable to others can quickly become life-threatening.
So, given all these serious risks, what can you, the listener, do right now to stay safe and protect yourself and your loved ones during this kind of extreme heat?
Well, public health officials and local news outlets like KMOV in St. Louis we mentioned, they're all pushing out vital safety info. The absolute #1 recommendation is stay hydrated, drink plenty of water, even if you don't feel thirsty. It's surprisingly easy to get dehydrated without realizing it, especially if you're not active.
Right.
And try to avoid sugary drinks, alcohol, and too much caffeine. Those can actually make dehydration worse.
And seeking out air conditioning seems like the simplest, most effective step, really.
It truly is potentially life-saving. Spend as much time as you possibly can in air-conditioned environments. If your home isn't cool enough, look for public cooling centers. Libraries, shopping malls, community centers often open their doors for this. Check your local government website. Also, try to limit strenuous outdoor activities, especially during the hottest parts of the day. That's usually between about 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. If you absolutely have to work outside, take frequent breaks, find shade, get into AC if possible. Your body needs that downtime to cool off.
Good advice for anyone who has to be outdoors. What about just simple things like clothing? Does that make a real difference?
It absolutely does.
Yeah.
Opt for clothing that's lightweight, loose-fitting, and light-colored. This helps your body regulate its temperature better. Sweat can evaporate more easily, and light colors reflect sunlight instead of absorbing it.
Makes sense.
And this is a big one. Please regularly check on vulnerable individuals. Elderly neighbors, friends, relatives who might be isolated or, don't have good AC. They often need help recognizing the danger signs or just getting somewhere cool. A quick phone call or visit can make a huge difference.
And that critical reminder we hear every summer, but honestly, it can't be said enough. Never, ever leave children or pets in parked cars.
Oh, 1,000 times yes. Never. Temperatures inside a parked car can skyrocket to deadly levels incredibly fast. Even on a day that doesn't seem that hot, or if the windows are cracked, it can become lethal in just minutes.
Yeah.
And finally, just empower yourself by knowing the symptoms. Be aware of the signs of heat exhaustion and heat stroke, both for yourself and for others around you. If you suspect heat stroke, don't hesitate. Seek medical attention immediately. Knowing those signs really can save a life.
Okay, so beyond the immediate health dangers, this kind of extreme heat also puts immense strain on our infrastructure, doesn't it? What's the sort of ripple effect there, often unseen by most of us until it directly impacts us?
Yeah, if we connect this to the bigger picture, the strain is significant across multiple sectors. Power grids feel it immediately. That huge demand for air conditioning causes massive spikes in electricity consumption. This strains the grid, sometimes to the breaking point. It can lead to brownouts, actual blackouts, or at least calls from utility companies for voluntary energy conservation. Sometimes they even have to implement rolling blackouts just to prevent a total grid collapse.
I can imagine transportation suffering, too. Roads must get incredibly hot. Pavement buckling.
They do. Roads can buckle from the extreme heat. Railway lines can warp, which is dangerous for trains. Even airport runways can develop issues with the tarmac softening. All of that leads to travel delays, disruptions, repair costs. It adds up. And then there's agriculture. Crops can suffer huge damage from both the heat stress and often accompanying drought conditions. That impacts yields, which can eventually lead to higher food prices. Livestock are also really vulnerable to heat stroke, which means further economic losses for farmers. It's just a whole domino effect.
And water resources must take a serious hit, too, especially in places already dealing with dryness.
Precisely. Prolonged intense heat can make drought conditions much worse. It depletes water reservoirs needed for drinking water and irrigation, and it significantly increases the risk of wildfires, which often go hand in hand with these hot, dry periods.
Yeah.
Ultimately, all these factors, strained grids, transport issues, agricultural losses, water stress, they combine to impact economic productivity overall. Think about reduced capacity for outdoor work, increased healthcare costs from heat illnesses, even just general discomfort making people less productive. It becomes a huge drag on local and regional economies.
So Stepping back even further, this isn't just a one-off bad weather event. It feels incredibly consistent with these larger patterns we keep hearing about. What's the bigger picture here regarding long-term trends and climate change, and how much do our climate models tell us about what's coming?
Well, what's really crucial to understand here is that the increasing frequency, intensity, and duration of heat waves like this one, it's highly consistent with climate change projections. There's an overwhelming consensus among climate scientists that a warming planet will lead to more extreme weather events, and that definitely includes more severe heat waves.
Okay.
Our current climate models, which are constantly getting better and more refined, have actually been projecting this kind of trend for years now. And unfortunately, we're seeing those projections align more and more closely with the observed reality.
So while we know, you can't point to any single weather event and say that was caused only by climate change, it definitely feels like the pattern of these events is aligning with the scientific predictions. It's the overall trend that really matters.
That's exactly the key takeaway, yeah. Well, we can't attribute this specific heat dome this specific week solely to climate change. The observed trend is undeniable. Hotter summers, more frequent heat waves, more intense heat domes. It lines perfectly with what the climate models have been telling us to expect for a long time. It's part of a larger pattern we're seeing not just here, but globally. And it really underscores the urgency of, well, addressing these long-term trends.
So wrapping this up, what does this all mean for you, our listener, as you navigate not just this current heat wave, but look ahead to future summers?
Well, we've taken a pretty deep dive today into how these heat domes and heat waves actually work, those intricate mechanisms. We've explored the immediate dangers they pose to health, and we've talked about their broader impacts on society and infrastructure. So hopefully, you now have a much more comprehensive understanding of what creates these extreme weather events and why they're so significant. It gives you the context, to really understand the headlines and the warnings when you see them.
Exactly. You're now, hopefully, well-equipped to not just understand what's unfolding outside your window, but why it's so critical to take seriously. And as these extreme heat events likely become more frequent and maybe even more intense, it leaves us with a really important question to ponder, doesn't it? Beyond the immediate safety measures we discussed, what innovative long-term solutions and societal adaptations will be most crucial for our communities? How do we build resilience and ensure public safety in the face of this changing reality in the years to come?